This is a question that everybody's going to want to know. How much money do you make on Airbnb? Today is the first Airbnb video. I have a very good friend and special guest on the channel, Michael Casa. This is his name, and he is an Airbnb expert, and we're going to be answering all of your Airbnb questions today. So Michael, how many Airbnbs do you manage at the moment? Like everything in total, ones you own, you do the arbitrage, everything.
So right now I have about 35 properties on Airbnb. Some of them under rental arbitrage, so I lease and then sublease. Some others I manage for the owner, so they have a property, let's say, and they want someone to take care of their, short-term rental Airbnb business. So I do everything for them: check in, check out for the guests. I take care of all the cleaning. I manage everything, and some others properties I own, mostly in California, some houses that I personally own and that I put on Airbnb as well.
Okay.
So in total, about 35 units right now.
35 units, guys. 35 units he's managing. So would you say with all these units that you've been managing and the couple years experience you have in this, is it better to do Airbnb arbitrage, or is it better to own the place that you're going to be using for Airbnb?
So here is the thing. I have the chance to. I have done both of them already. I have owned and did Airbnb on it, and also the rental arbitrage, of course, which is my main thing. I would definitely recommend the rental arbitrage because you don't have to buy a whole property of over $100,000-$200,000 that most people don't have right now to start the business and start making some serious cash flow. With a rental arbitrage property, let's say you're spending $1,500 on rent, all you need to start is $1,500 times 2, because you usually need first month and then security deposit. Let's say that's $3,000, a couple of thousand in furniture. So let's say with $5,000 you can get started on Airbnb and starting to make a profit just like any other investor, without having to spend or to go to the bank and ask for a loan or to go and spend $200,000 cash or whatever. So let's say you're able to save $20,000, $30,000, you can start already your business with 5 property, let's say, and it will be much easier for you to start making cash flow rather than just buying, and it will take way longer to get to that point.
So would you even consider buying any more Airbnb properties, or just doing arbitrage from now on?
At this point, I believe that arbitrage is the best thing, but the way I see it, the way I want to do it is with the money that I'm able to make with the rental arbitrage business, is to then buying it into real estate to either do Airbnb or regular renting, or just trying to flip, which is what I'm doing right now in California. I'm using my money from the arbitrage to flip houses in California in a very specific area where it's booming right now. So I'm still doing both, but definitely if you want to cash flow right now and build a business, the arbitrage would be the best option.
So it's the fastest way to just start making money, right?
Exactly, that's what it is.
Got it. So what type of recurring expenses do you normally have, and maybe some surprise expenses that come up with Airbnb that people might not think of if you're going to be starting an Airbnb business?
Right, very good point. So the first expense that you have is obviously the rent that you have to pay every month. Then the cleaning fees. So every time a guest make a reservation, you have included in your price a cleaning fee that most of the time is equal to what you're going to pay the cleaner that you found that will clean your apartment. So that's a fee, but that is basically being taken care of by the guest. And then you have the utilities, of course, the electricity, depending how you have your contract with your landlord. Sometimes they have utilities included, but most of the time they only include water and trash, so you still have to pay electricity and internet, of course. So those are the fees that, the expenses that come all the time. Besides this, you have once in a while guests that are unhappy for whatever reason, so you're trying to give some sort of refund sometimes. So if, let's say, your cleaner took longer to get the place ready, the check-in can only be done at 5 instead of 4. You're going to give them a little something as a compensation. Those things happen every once in a while. So those are the expenses you have.
And as somebody that does the arbitrage, are you responsible for any repairs that come up in the property?
So
like
if
a normal
anything,
landlord?
yes, if anything happens in the property caused by the guest, let's say, you have the right to make a claim on Airbnb, which is the main platform I'm using to obviously rent my places. And you have an insurance up to $1 million. So every time you have an issue or something gets broken, as long as you can send them proof before the next guest check in, so they believe that it was the guest, the current guest, the one that just checked out,
sure,
you can get compensation, on this. And it has happened to me a couple of times. Luckily, I've never had anything major to deal with, but for all the little things, I was able to get compensation for that.
Okay, good. What about Airbnb restrictions? Obviously, you and I are very familiar with Miami Beach, and there's a lot of restrictions around that here. But tell me how it works in different areas that you've done Airbnb.
Right. So every place, every government, every state, cities, counties have their own regulations. Obviously, that can be very different from one another. Places like, I'm gonna go on Miami very short. On Miami, not Miami Beach, Miami. Basically what you need to have is you need to be in the proper zoning. So for whoever is familiar with real estate here, you have T3, T4, T5, T6. So anything that is, business oriented, like T4, T5, T6, some of the T3s as well, you will be allowed to do it. All you need is a letter from the owner that allows you to do this in there. And you need to have a certificate of use from the city. So you basically have to do your own due diligences before to start. It's very short, nothing complicated, but you want to do that to make it legal, obviously.
Sure. In
Miami Beach, it's a little bit different. It's actually very hard in Miami Beach. Why? Because the city has made maybe 5% of the city zoning only, that will allow short-term rental. Most of the places you just can't do it in Miami Beach. But if you're in a specific area, like it's my case, I have 6 units in that area. Same thing, you have to get a letter from the condo that allows short-term rental from the owner. Then you're gonna pass fire inspection, zoning inspection, all those things until you get to the point where you have to apply for a BTR, a business tax receipts. And once you get all this done, then they will give you a permit to operate a short-term rental. So again, it is possible. It's just a little more due diligences, but it is possible as long as you're in the proper zoning and that the building allows it.
So the building has to allow it too. It's not just the zoning, the building has to already okay it
exactly.
As well.
The building, the city, and of course the owner of the apartment. So it's a lot of things to get together, but it's definitely possible. I've done it. It hasn't taken me a long time to get it together, so it is definitely possible. Now for other areas, because as I said before, I'm doing also some Airbnb in California.
Yes.
I am in an area where they're very friendly with people coming for tourism, and since they're collecting, of course, money and taxes on the occupancy from every guest, they're very friendly with that, and they basically give you the rental permit, the short-term rental permit, with a couple of paperwork that you have to put together, but it's nothing even nearly as hard as Miami to get. So it is very, very easy to get.
Interesting. So it's actually much harder to do Airbnb here in Miami than in different areas in California.
It is, even though I don't consider it very hard here, because again, the due diligences are not that hard to get, but it's definitely less complicated in California, at least in the area that I am, than here. But let's say, for example, I have people in Los Angeles, it is very hard to do it in that specific city because they have tons of restrictions. So again, it's all depending on what city or what county you are in, and regulations can be extremely different even if the counties or the cities are very close together.
So how would you go about finding out which would be the best area to do Airbnb in then? Since different areas have different rules, how do you know that up front? Do you just hear from other people that are doing it, or do you research that little by little and just figure it out on your own?
Good question. If I'm planning on getting started into let's say a city, let's say Chicago, for example, I will first target an area where I want to do it, where I feel like I could get a lot of people to rent my places. Then I go to the specific city or town, whatever it is, and check the short-term regulations, rules and regulation. From there, I will know if it's easy, if it's more difficult to make it, and that's it, simply. You can ask as many people as you want, but at the end of the day, the city is the one making the regulations. So you have to be, if everybody's saying, yes, you can do it here, but then you can't, you really want to go with what the books say in order for you to do it, fully legal.
Absolutely. You can't go by hearsay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question that everybody's going to want to know. How much money do you make on Airbnb? And let's break it down 2 ways. How much do you make in total, and how much do you expect to make or roughly make per unit?
Right, very good question. So of course, a lot has changed with the pandemic hitting last year, but still, I was able to make some good profit even though the pandemic hit. To give you a ballpark, my goal when I get a property is, let's say I'm paying $1,000 of rent, okay? I'm trying to cash flow $1,000. So basically doubling the rent, and after all the expenses are paid. And that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. My expenses right now in rent are about $35,000 to $40,000 a month, and I am making between $25,000 to $35,000 depending on the month of cash flow right now.
So that's your profit,
Yes, that's my
$25,000 to
profit.
$30,000
Exactly.
per month.
But very important also, in order to keep growing the business, my strategy, my vision is to not take just the money and go buy myself whatever car I want to, I'm just trying to reinvest in the business, to get more properties, better properties, or to buy houses, to do other type of business so the money keeps growing. Otherwise, if you just cash out, then you have nothing to feed the business again, and you just stuck, you're stuck with where you are. So I believe this is the most important thing, and money can come very fast, but then it all comes to how to manage it in order to grow. Because that business can take fire, but if you don't know how to manage it, it can also go to the ground very easily. So
that's a very good point, because a lot of people that are getting into this probably don't have much in the way of business skills and probably have never even ran a business before. But it is a real business, and you need to treat it like one, just like you said. Otherwise, you can crash and burn pretty quick.
Exactly. And not counting that there is also a lot of management in that business with, you're going to be hiring housekeepers, maintenance people, accountant. You're going to be really, it's as you grow, you're going to need more and more people, and problems will come along, little problems, a housekeeper not coming, how am I going to take care of this or that?
Yes.
And just like any business, you're the boss, and you're trying to make the decision that will make it go to the top. That's it.
Excellent. What do you think is the best type of properties to use for Airbnb? Like, do you like houses or apartments or larger places versus smaller places? Like a 1-bedroom is better than a 3-bedroom, or what's your take on that?
Right. I do myself have mostly studios, 1-bedroom, 2 bedrooms, but I never like to get larger properties for a few reasons. First of all, when I started, I didn't have, of course, a lot of money to do the rental arbitrage business, and it will obviously cost you less to rent a studio or 1-bedroom than a 3 or 4-bedroom apartment. So that's the first reason already. By experience, luckily it hasn't happened to me, but I've had many friends that have done Airbnb and had that party problems where you have larger places, big groups that gather together. Sometimes you say it's up to 8 to 10 guests, and you end up having 25 guests because they just use your house as a party house. In smaller units, you don't have that problem, because when people are looking and target you to make a party, they're looking for larger spaces. They will almost never do it in a smaller space. So you take that big risk, already out. The other reason also is the cost will increase. Obviously, you will have to rent your night at a higher rate. You will have to pay your cleaner at a higher rate, and the demand is very much concentrated in 2 to 4 people trying to find prices a little bit below hotel prices. If you start going with those kind of big properties, you don't have as many people that are looking for them, so it can make it a little bit harder also to rent them. So that's why I don't do too many big spaces at this point. But maybe in the future, if I find a way to make it work better, I will definitely do it.
Interesting. So definitely smaller units is your preference.
Yes.
Okay. What are like the most common problems and issues that come up, like in the way of complaints from guests, or issues that usually arise that you're used to dealing with already by now?
Right. So obviously when guests book your place, wherever it is, sometimes they don't read the full listing. And it has happened to me one time. I have an apartment in Miami Beach where it's like a loft concept style. Some bedroom, it's a 2-bedroom. 1-bedroom is fully closed and everything. The other one has a wall in connection with the living room, and it's open, obviously. One day I had a guest, it was 2 couples coming, and one guy told me, "How am I supposed? I'm with my girlfriend. How am I supposed to be in the bedroom here and the space is open?" So I said, "Well, it was on the listing. It was clear. So, I don't know what to tell you. It was here since the beginning. Before you book, you knew about it. So obviously you have to work your way around, and most of the time they're fine, it's okay. It happens sometimes that you have major problem. For example, the fridge stops working, or the toilet has a leak, things that happen like this. So obviously you have to fix it right away. That's why it's very important to have someone, if you know how to do it yourself, great. Otherwise you have to have someone kind of on call that can come and help you out with those fixings. And of course, if it's a big inconvenience, you will just, refund the guest some money, or, giving a compensation. Or later checkout time sometimes works also if you have nobody the day after. So little problems like this happen. And again, like in any business, in customer service, you have sometimes guests that are very picky and will find the hair in the bathroom that will tell you this is dirty. Obviously, it happens. Luckily, not everybody is like this, but you will have, eventually those kind of guests, and it's just part of the business.
So like when you have these issues come up, how do you manage that remotely? Because like last summer you spent a few months in California, you had all these rentals here in Miami. Like how do you deal with that from afar?
So the beauty of this business is that you can grow, have a lot of units, have a lot going on, and still being able to be wherever you want. I took a, as I told you, 2.5 month road trip from Florida to California without being here, and still my units were able to get managed, and I didn't need to come at any point. Same thing, you have to have a housekeeper, you have to have a handyman, people that are here as a team for you, and if things happen, you simply let them know, and they will go to the properties they have access to everywhere, and that's it, that's simple. But everything is from my phone, so I don't have to be in a specific place to be there. But again, you need to make sure you have a team that is reliable before you take such a, a trip, and you know that you can't be anywhere, in a short period of time.
And how did you end up determining that that was going to be your team and that they were reliable? Because obviously you got to put them through the ropes first, right?
Of course. So, of course, I've worked with my main housekeeper, which is my supervisor right now, for already quite some time, and she has proven me many times that, she doesn't take sick days, she doesn't, she's very reliable. Like, I remember even one time in those years of her telling me, I'm sorry I can't come, I'm sorry I have this. So I know that this person is, a very important part of my business. And also the handyman, same thing. We've worked a lot together, and I know that he's there when I need him. And if it won't be the case, I have some backup, just in case that I keep, and sometimes you will use them, most of the times no, but again, it's all a matter of getting people that are reliable.
I'm brand new to the Airbnb business, but I want to get into it. I want to get started with my first rental. What's the best piece of advice you could give somebody like that who's looking to start their first Airbnb business?
Of course. So first thing I would say, try to pick a property that is not too far from where you live, because at the beginning, of course, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have little things to adjust. So you want to make it easier for you and to have something that is close from where you are. Try to pick also an area where the rules and regulations are a little more flexible, I would say. In terms of places, like we answered before, I would recommend a small space to start, because it's a lower investment, obviously. What you need to look for when you look for a place is that the place is, doesn't have to be exceptional, luxurious, but just, modern enough, just clean, available for guests right away. Basically, a simple studio could do the work to start, or a one-bedroom apartment could do the start. So just start looking for your rentals in your area, and start talking with either the landlord directly, or go through the realtors and trying to find places that the owner will allow you to sublease their units.
All right, guys. So we answered your questions. You put them down in the community post. Michael answered them for you. If you want to see more like behind the scenes type of content as far as what it's like to actually start an Airbnb from scratch, or what it's like running the day-to-day operations, put a comment below and I can make some videos following Michael around and show you exactly how he does his operation.
I'll be happy to show you guys.
Awesome. If you guys enjoyed that video, make sure you check out the next video right over here, and we'll see you over there in the next one.
Bye guys.